A group of young boys and girls were walking together toward a lake. Matt was leading the way because he had been there before when he was a child. But as they walked, some of the girls started to feel that Matt might have taken a wrong turn somewhere. Still, they all agreed to keep going. As the day went on, they realized it was getting late. By evening, they decided to stop and rest for the night. They would figure out what to do next in the morning. With a little teamwork, they quickly set up 3 tents, one for each couple. After the tents were ready, everyone felt tired and took some rest, since this trip was meant to be a relaxing break after their final exams. Later that night, they all gathered around the campfire, sitting close and talking softly. Jesse shared that he was studying to become a heart doctor, and his girlfriend Gina said she wanted to be a doctor who takes care of children. Matt and Brian also told them they were medical students, just like Alice, who said she planned to work with diseases that spread between people. The only one studying something different was Jules. She was Alice's girlfriend and was working on her degree in history. As they were talking, suddenly a strange and scary sound came from the forest. Everyone stopped talking and became quiet. Jesse tried to explain it was probably just a lost dog making noise, but some others didn't believe him. Alice said the sound reminded her of something called a cryo-tin, which made Gina feel a little scared. Matt made the mood even darker by saying that there were many wild animals around, like wolves and bears. Jesse tried to calm everyone down. He said those animals were not dangerous and were actually more afraid of people than people were of them. Then Jules noticed Gina's fancy branded coat and joked, "The animals might want to take your coat away from you." Gina didn't like the joke and felt upset, so she went to her tent to sleep. Jesse didn't like how Gina acted and went after her to talk. After that, the group's fun evening quietly came to an end. Inside one of the tents, Jules asked Alice about her friendship with Brian. Alice said they were very close friends, but there had never been anything more than that between them. Then the conversation turned to a more serious topic, coming out. Both Jules and Alice had grown up very differently, so talking about this was a little difficult. Alice explained that after her mother left, she became very close to her father, but she knew he would never accept the fact that she is gay. Meanwhile, in the other tent, the others were talking about Alice and Jules. Gina was feeling a little unsure and nervous because Alice had lived with Jesse before. At the same time, among some sweet romantic moments, Matt gave Brian an engagement ring. Brian became very emotional and said yes right away. After a while, Matt said he needed to go to the toilet and quietly stepped out of the tent. The night was very still and quiet, so any sound could be heard clearly. Suddenly, a strange noise came from the forest. Matt became alert and looked around. Out of nowhere, a strange creature, moving like a person but on all fours, suddenly ran towards Matt and attacked him so fast that he couldn't even scream for help. The creature threw Matt to the ground and then cruelly ripped open his stomach. At that moment, Brian was looking at the ring in her hand, unaware of what was happening. But when Matt did not come back for a long time, Brian became worried. She took a lamp and went outside to look for him. Not far from the tent, Brian saw a horrifying sight. A terrifying monster was eating pieces of a human body. When she looked more carefully, she realized it was Matt's body. His blood was dark and thick on the ground. Suddenly, the creature noticed Brian looking at it and turned its scary face towards her. Brian screamed loudly. Hearing her scream, the other 4 friends woke up quickly. They grabbed their lamps and rushed outside to find her. Soon, Jesse and Alice found Brian lying unconscious on the ground. She had injuries on her face but was still alive. Alice was panicked and said Brian needed to be taken to a hospital right away. Then Jules saw a lamp lying on the ground. As she picked it up, the light fell on Matt's mutilated body. Everyone was shocked and frightened to see such a terrible scene. They quickly helped Brian back to the tent. Alice asked Jesse to find a first aid kit in their things. Gina was very nervous. She said she was scared that the monster which attacked Matt could come back again at any moment. Alice tried to comfort her and told Jules that she would stay with Brian all night, so Jules should go and sleep in another tent. Jules felt a little sad but didn't say anything. She quietly went to sleep in Matt's tent. What Jules didn't know was that, at that very moment, Matt's body outside was starting to move on its own. It was rising up by itself in the dark night. The next morning, Alice woke up to the sound of a man's voice. It was a stranger named Bill Talbot, who was talking quietly with his friends. Bill lived alone in a small cabin not far from the woods. He told everyone that he had many emergency supplies at his cabin and said Brian should be taken there to rest and get help. Everyone thanked Bill for his kindness, and together they carefully carried Brian to the cabin. Once they arrived, the group realized someone needed to go back to the nearby town or city to find help. Jules and Jesse volunteered to make the journey. Gina stayed behind at the cabin with Brian. Brian was awake but still very weak and heartbroken over the death of her fiancé, Matt. Meanwhile, Alice took Bill with her and went to the place where Matt's body had been. But when they reached the spot, the body was gone. There was only a large pool of blood on the ground. Feeling worried, they returned to the cabin. Outside on the porch, Gina was waiting and quickly called Alice inside. Brian's condition was getting worse, and everyone grew more anxious. Meanwhile, deep in the woods, Jesse and Jules were walking together. Jesse kept moving forward without stopping. Suddenly, they saw something strange, a dead rabbit hanging from a tree. Both of them wondered who could have done such a cruel thing. At that moment, Jesse turned to Jules and said something hurtful. He told her he hated her because he believed that Alice didn't really like girls, that she was pretending. Jules was angry and pushed Jesse hard. Jesse lost his balance and fell into a hidden bear trap. Jules was shocked and panicked. She tried everything to free Jesse, but the trap was very strong and wouldn't open. Every time they tried to open it, Jesse felt more pain. Finally, Jesse gave up and told Jules to go find help while he stayed behind. Back at the cabin, Alice was doing her best to care for Brian. Brian was scared and kept saying she was afraid she might die. Alice tried to comfort her, promising that everything would be okay. But suddenly, Alice noticed a small clump of Brian's hair in her hand. She hid her fear, not wanting to worry Brian more. Then Bill quietly told the girls that the sun was starting to set. He said that Jesse and Jules should have been back by now. As Alice and Gina talked about Brian, Bill quietly whispered that the girl was going to die soon. Alice asked Bill what he had said, but he quickly said he hadn't said anything. After he left, Alice told Gina she didn't trust Bill. The two friends decided they would take turns staying awake to watch over Brian through the night. Night had fallen, and Jesse was still trapped in the jungle. Lost and scared, Jules shone her torch into the bushes, trying to find a way out. Suddenly, she heard a strange, frightening sound growing closer. She hid behind a tree and peeked out to see the same creature that had attacked Matt, standing nearby, sniffing the air as if hunting. Back at the cabin, Alice was resting in a chair when she heard footsteps at the door. She woke up quickly, grabbed a gun, and quietly approached the room. There she saw Tolbert standing beside Brian with a syringe. Tolbert said it was antibiotics, but Alice didn't trust him and told him to stay back. When he tried to inject Brian, Alice fired the gun, grazing Tolbert and knocking him out. The shot woke Gina, who rushed to help. Outside, Jules waited for the creature to leave before running away. Inside, Alice and Gina bandaged Tolbert's wounds as strange noises echoed outside. Frustrated by Gina's indecision, Alice went to check and saw the creature about 100 yards from the cabin. Tolbert woke up and warned that Brian was infected with an incurable virus and would soon lose her humanity. He ordered Gina to shoot Brian before it was too late. Frightened, Gina accidentally fired, hitting a bookshelf instead. In the confusion, Tolbert escaped and collided with Alice on the porch. Gina told Alice everything Tolbert said, but Alice dismissed it as madness. Then she found a hidden trapdoor under the carpet and decided to go down, despite Gina's fear. Down in the basement, Alice and Jules found a bed with handcuffs in the corner and some very strong tranquilizer bottles on a nearby table. Alice said it looked like Tolbert had kept someone locked up there for a long time. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door upstairs. Alice remembered that Gina hadn't brought the gun down with her, so she quickly went upstairs, grabbed the weapon, and asked who was there. When she heard Jules's voice, she opened the door. Jules hugged Alice tightly, crying, and began to tell her what had happened to Jesse. Meanwhile, Jesse was still in the forest, writhing in pain. The strange creature approached him, growling. As it got closer, Jesse realized it was Matt, but Matt had changed. Now he attacked Jesse, tearing and biting him. The next morning, Alice and Jules went to look for Jesse, while Gina stayed at the cabin with Brian. After some searching, Alice found Jesse's body. She noticed a faint heartbeat, meaning he was still alive. Using tools stolen from Tolbert's cabin, Alice opened the bear trap and, with Jules's help, freed Jesse. On their way back, Jules got tired and asked to rest for a while. After the break, they carried Jesse back to the cabin. Gina was nervous when she saw Jesse. Alice explained that she thought a virus, spread by animal bites, was causing all this. Both Brian and Jesse needed to go to a hospital. It was getting dark, so they decided to wait until morning to leave. They agreed to take turns keeping watch during the night. However, after some time, Jules fell asleep. Suddenly, an intruder grabbed the gun from Jules' hand and pointed it at Alice's forehead. At that moment, Jesse's eyes opened in the bedroom. Alice woke up with a start and was terrified to see Tolbert standing in front of her, holding a gun. He scolded Alice for not listening and warned that he would do anything to protect his son. Meanwhile, hearing the voices, Jules quietly slipped into the kitchen and grabbed a knife. At the same time, Gina suddenly woke up and saw a broken tooth from Jesse lying on the bed beside her. The room was very dark, but then she heard strange whirring noises. A shadow appeared above the dresser, slowly moving, and then suddenly it jumped at her. Gina screamed loudly, which Tolbert overheard during his fight with Alice. Taking advantage of the distraction, Alice and Jules tried to make Tolbert drop his rifle. But while all this was happening, Tolbert bit Gina's neck. Jules stabbed Tolbert, causing his rifle to fire accidentally, and then she managed to hold him down while Alice ran to the bedroom. When Alice got there, she saw Tolbert attacking someone, but he quickly escaped through the window. Now Alice was ready to listen. Tolbert revealed that the first creature that attacked Matt was his son, Bun. He called the disease the wild virus. He said he had kept Bun chained in the basement for a long time, but Bun eventually escaped. Tolbert explained that the virus was deadly and had no cure. Alice was shocked when he described the second stage of the infection. The dead rise again. Victims sleep during the day but cause terror at night. This had happened to Bun, who came back and attacked his own mother, wife, and daughter, turning them into monsters too. Tolbert saw his family change before his eyes. Alice asked what would happen to her friends. Tolbert said there was only one way to stop it: shoot them with a bullet. Gina protested strongly, but Alice decided to lock Tolbert in the basement for now so he could think about what to do. Jules went to check on Brian and saw that his transformation had begun. Seeing this, Jules and Alice argued fiercely. Jules started to believe what Tolbert said, but Alice still hoped to save Brian. Alice took Brian down to the basement and, with Tolbert's help, tied him to the same bunk bed. During this, Gina got a scratch on her face. Alice sent Jules upstairs to get some supplies. As Jules was gathering things, a creature lurked near the cabin window, but Jules did not notice and returned to the basement. Alice bandaged Gina's injury, and together they tied Tolbert up tightly. Suddenly, there was loud knocking from upstairs. Tolbert whispered, "They've come." Alice went upstairs with a weapon, carefully checking every room. She noticed a small hole in one of the doors. Jules stayed downstairs to keep watch, while Tolbert tried to provoke her. Tolbert warned that Gina had started to change too, and told Jules she needed to put Gina under anesthesia to control her. Jules didn't agree, but gave Tolbert a tranquilizer syringe just in case she needed to put him to sleep. Suddenly, Tolbert attacked Jules and injected her in the neck with the syringe. Meanwhile, Alice looked through the hole in the door and saw a bloody mouth staring back. Without hesitation, she put the barrel of her gun to the hole and fired. After checking all the rooms, Alice thought everything was safe. But then Jesse appeared behind her. Alice fired again, but this time she missed. Jesse ran away and hid in another room. He tried to attack her from behind, but Alice was ready and aimed straight at his head. Down in the basement, Tolbert knocked Alice down the stairs. Her head hit the ground and she lost consciousness. At the same time, Gina's eyes opened. Her transformation into a full monster had begun. Tolbert came out of the basement and locked the four girls inside. But soon Tolbert's own son attacked him, giving Tolbert a harsh punishment. When Alice woke up, Gina had fully turned into a monster and was leaning over the unconscious Jules. Alice fought hard to save her girlfriend. She grabbed a bat and in a fierce struggle, managed to hit Gina on the head, cracking her skull and stopping her. After some time, Jules woke up and Alice told her everything that had happened. She said that Ben was still somewhere in the cabin, but as long as he stayed locked in the basement, they would be safe. Suddenly, Brian woke up screaming. Alice quickly calmed her down again. Upstairs, Ben scratched the floor, making noises like a hungry animal. Alice told Jules she would distract Ben when he came into the basement. Jules had to promise to escape and never look back. Soon the trapdoor broke, and Ben fell down the stairs into the basement. Alice attacked him with the bed while Jules ran away. During the fight, Alice managed to get upstairs and grab a gun. Ben climbed up after her, but was shot by Alice. Alice didn't have time to feel relieved because she heard screams outside. Jules was running through the woods, chased by a creature. Alice arrived just in time and shot the creature from a distance, killing it. But then she noticed Jules had a bruise on her stomach. Jules cried, saying she didn't want to become a zombie, and begged Alice to end her pain. Alice started crying too and said she couldn't do it, but she understood Jules didn't want to live in fear or as something changed by the virus. The two sat together quietly until sunrise. Then Alice handed the gun to Jules and stepped back. A gunshot rang out behind her, making Alice tremble. After gathering her courage, Alice began walking toward the city. At the same time, Brian woke up again in the cabin's basement. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Thank you.